The world above the ground was no longer the Earth humans remembered. The buildings that once touched the sky now stood as broken giants, leaning like tired old soldiers after a long, unwinnable war. The wind carried dust through empty streets, whispering through shattered windows and twisted metal. Everything felt silent, except for the war that never seemed to end. High in the sky, massive alien warships drifted like metal storms. Their shadows passed over the ruins below, cold and heavy, as if they were claiming everything they touched. The ships belonged to two different alien races, two enemies that had brought their fight to a world that was not theirs. These two factions were known as the Krith and the Vornak. The Krith ships, dark and sharp like blades sliced across the clouds. Their hulls glowed with faint red symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. The Krith believed themselves to be the rightful rulers of war and honor. Their warriors were tall, armored, and built for battle. Every movement they made was clean, precise, and deadly. The Vornak, on the other hand, flew ships shaped like wide metal wings, with bright blue light shining through cracks in their strange technology. Their designs looked smooth and flowing, almost alive. The Vornak were known for their cold intelligence. They fought using drones, machines, and energy weapons that hummed through the air like angry insects. Wherever the Krith went, destruction followed like a loyal pet. Wherever the Vornak went, nothing stayed hidden for long. And now, these two great forces clashed across the ruins of a dead human world. Explosions burst in the distance, lighting up the broken city like silent fireworks. A tall skyscraper finally gave up its battle with gravity and collapsed into a cloud of dust. The alien blasts echoed between the ruins, bouncing off cracked stone walls and rusted cars left behind in the panic of the old invasion. The Krith forces charged through the streets, roaring in their guttural language. Their massive boots cracked the ground as they moved toward a fallen building where a human research center once stood. The Vornak drones hovered overhead, blinking with cold blue light, scanning the rubble with perfect precision. Both sides were searching for something hidden, something powerful. And neither side had any intention of letting the other find it. But the truth was simple. Neither race truly understood what they were fighting over. They only knew that humans created it, and that alone made it precious and dangerous. One Krith warrior swung his heavy weapon toward the ground, smashing open a concrete wall. Bits of metal and old wire spilled out. He growled in frustration, a deep rumble that shook dust from the ceiling of a nearby ruin. His armor lights flared red as he called for backup, his voice echoing through the empty streets. On the opposite side of the block, Vornak machines lifted a damaged research capsule from the rubble. It hissed as ancient human air escaped, and strange blue symbols flashed across the drone screens. The Vornak commander, floating above the ground on a hovering disk, watched with cold patience. Its four glowing eyes shifted, analyzing every detail. It wanted answers. It wanted the human technology, and it wanted to deny the Krith any victory. Far above, the two alien fleets fired at each other in slow, powerful bursts. Energy beams cut through the sky like lightning trapped inside glass. The earth below lit up with each strike, as if the planet itself was flinching from the violence. But what made this battle so unusual, what made it so confusing even to the aliens, was this: there were no humans left to fight. No soldiers, no armies, no cities full of people. Humanity had vanished from the surface long ago, swallowed by the invasion. At least, that was what the aliens believed. Deep beneath their feet, behind steel walls and hidden passages, a small human bunker still survived. But the aliens never looked down. They only looked forward, toward their own war. Their sensors searched for weapons, not life. Their scanners hunted energy signals, not heartbeats. The aliens were fighting a war over human ruins. never guessing that human eyes were still watching them. Yet even if the aliens remained blind to the truth, the humans underground could see everything. Bulky old cameras sat on half-broken poles across the city, still powered by forgotten solar panels and backup batteries. Faded lenses recorded every blast, every movement, every alien step. The survivors watched in silence, knowing the aliens were growing more desperate every day. Because the Krith and the Vornak both believed the same thing. Somewhere in the ruins, a human device of great power was hidden. A device from before the fall. A device worth fighting for. The Krith called it the Heart of Fire. The Vornak called it the Core of Light. Both were wrong. That another name one only the humans truly remembered, but no one had spoken that name aloud for years. Up above, the battle raged harder. A Krith war beast roared as it crashed through a wall. Vornak drones swarmed like a cloud of cold metal bees. The sky shook with thunder that came not from weather, but from weapons. And in the middle of all this chaos, one clear truth remained. The aliens believed they were alone. They believed humanity was gone, but the ruins still held secrets, and deep underground, the humans were preparing for the day when those secrets would no longer stay buried. Far below the broken world above, hidden under layers of steel, concrete, and old earth, the last human bunker stayed quiet. It was not large. It was not comfortable, but it was safe enough to keep the final survivors alive. While the alien war raged overhead, the entrance to the bunker was disguised as a collapsed subway tunnel, covered with rusted metal beams and heavy stones. No alien ship had any reason to look at it. No drones scanned the broken tunnels. It was forgotten, buried by time and chaos. Inside, dim lights flickered along old hallways. Pipes rattled softly with the sound of recycled air. The bunker smelled like metal, dust, and old machines that never rested. Every sound, even a tiny drip of water, echoed through the narrow corridors. There were 42 people left, 42 humans, 42 lives hiding from enemies who believed they no longer existed. They slept in tight bunks, shoulder to shoulder. They ate the same simple food every day: dried meals, purified water, and whatever plants they managed to grow under wheat grow lights. They lived with low energy, low comfort, and low hope. But they lived. Their leader, Captain Mara, moved quietly through the main control room. She was calm, sharp-eyed, and always listening. She was not the oldest survivor, but she carried the weight of command in her voice. People trusted her because she never lied to them about danger, about losses, or about their chances. Her boots made soft thuds on the metal floor as she approached the large screen wall. This room was the heart of the bunker. From here, they watched the outside world through dozens of old cameras. Most cameras were damaged, but enough still worked to give them eyes in the ruins. The screens flickered with the same sight she had seen every day for years. Alien soldiers moving like shadows. Drones flying quietly. Explosions shaking dust loose from old buildings. A younger survivor, Tomer, sat at the console, rubbing tired eyes. He was barely 19, born just before the invasion. He had never seen a normal sky. He had never played in a real park. His whole life existed under the ground. He pointed at the screen. "Krith patrol team moving east," he said softly. "Looks like they're searching again." Mara nodded. "They won't stop. Not until one side takes whatever they're looking for." Tomer swallowed. "Do you think they'll find the bunker?" Mara didn't answer right away. That was her way. She chose her words like someone testing ground for mines. "No," she said finally. "Not if we stay quiet. Not if we stay smart." Across the room, an older man named Yellen tightened a loose bolt on a wall panel. His hand shook slightly, but he kept working. He was once an engineer for the military, one of the few who understood the original structure of the bunker. "The power cells are weaker this week," Yellen said without looking up. If the solar collectors on the surface take more hits, we'll lose half our lights. Do what you can, Mara replied. Yalin laughed bitterly. Always do. The bunker hummed with the sound of machines fighting against age. Humans depended on every bolt, every battery, every piece of tech left behind by scientists who never imagined their inventions would one day protect the last of their species. In the dining room, the survivors ate in silence. People's faces looked thin and pale under the weak lights. A mother whispered stories to her small daughter about the world before, the birds, the trees, the taste of ice cream. The girl listened like she was hearing tales of magic. Further down the hall, two teenagers repaired a damaged water pump. They argued in whispers, trying not to make noise. Even a shout could carry vibrations, and vibrations could be detected by alien scanners on the surface. Silence was survival. Noise was death. The survivors had learned this the hard way. Years ago, a loud machine malfunctioned and exploded in one of the side tunnels. The Krith heard the echo and almost found the bunker. Only a quick seal of the passage stopped discovery. But 6 people were lost in that collapse. Since then, Mara enforced strict rules. Walk gently. Talk softly. Work quietly. Never risk attention. Still, no matter how careful they were, fear lived in every corner of the bunker. It sat in their bones like cold air. Every day, someone asked Mara the same question. When can we leave? Will we ever go back to the surface? Will we ever take back our world? And every day, she answered, not yet. Because she knew the truth. Humans were too weak to fight now. Too few, too hidden, too fragile. But she also knew another truth, one she never said aloud. The aliens were fighting more fiercely each week. Something was changing. Something was pushing both sides harder. Whatever the Krith and the Vornik wanted, they wanted it more desperately than before. Their scanners swept the ruins. Their soldiers dug through rubble. Their fleets burned the sky. The humans could feel the pressure increasing around them like a storm building far above. In the control room, Mara stared at the largest screen. A new explosion lit up the horizon. The ground above the bunker trembled. A shower of dust fell from the ceiling. For a moment, the lights flickered. Everyone in the bunker froze. Yalin held his breath. Tomer's hand hovered over the console. Mara slowly lifted her chin. Then the lights steadied. The survivors exhaled. They knew the war above would not stop. They knew the ruins were no longer just ruins. Something important was buried there. Something humans had made. Something the aliens believed could decide their war. Mara whispered to herself, almost too quietly to hear. They're getting closer. And in the deep quiet of the bunker, everyone felt the same unspoken fear. If the aliens found what they were searching for, humanity might never rise again. The next morning, or what passed for morning underground, the bunker woke to the same dim lights and low hum of machines. Humans no longer followed the sun. They followed the schedule Captain Mara set. She believed routine kept everyone steady. Routine meant survival. Routine meant control. But today, something felt different. Mara sensed it the moment she stepped into the control room. Tomer and 2 other watchers were huddled around the main console, whispering urgently. Their faces looked pale, not from hunger or tiredness, but from fear. What happened? Mara asked. Tomer jumped slightly, then pointed at the cracked radio receiver. We caught something last night. A signal, but it's not like the others. Mara leaned over the console as the static-filled audio repeated through the speakers. It wasn't human. The voice was harsh, layered, and mechanical. 2 alien languages overlapped, distorted but recognizable. The harsh growl of the Krith, and the cold, vibrating tones of the Vornik. Instead of yelling orders, or reporting troop movements, what the survivors usually intercepted, this signal sounded frantic, urgent, almost afraid. Tomer played the recording again. The radio crackled, and a Krith voice barked something sharp and angry. A Vornik voice responded quickly, almost panicked. The signal repeated in a loop, broken by bursts of static. Jalen stepped into the room, wiping oil from his hands. "What are they saying?" "We don't know," Tomer said softly. "But it's different. They sound like they're arguing." "They always argue," Yalen said. "Not like this," Tomer insisted. Mara leaned closer to the speakers. She didn't understand the alien languages, but she had listened to them for years. She knew their tones, their patterns, their normal behavior. This was not normal. What triggered this transmission? She asked. Tomer pulled up camera footage on the side screen. One of the working rooftop cameras had recorded a strange flash in the distance late last night. A bright, white explosion, not like the usual alien blasts. This one didn't spread out. It collapsed inward, pulling dust and debris toward the center before releasing a second shockwave. A few alien soldiers nearby had staggered back, confused. Even the drones had backed away. "What is that?" Yalen whispered. "No idea," Tomer said. But right after it happened, the aliens started fighting harder. They sent more troops, more drones. Everything intensified. Mara watched the replay again. The flash didn't look like a weapon firing. It looked more like a malfunction, a misfire, something unstable, something dangerous. Mara folded her arms. Her voice was calm, but the tension underneath was impossible to hide. "They're looking for something. Something they lost." Yalen rubbed the back of his neck. "Something human?" "That's what we need to find out," Mara replied. The radio crackled again. The Krith voice grew louder, angrier. Tomer turned a dial, isolating one line of alien speech, then another. Even without translation, the meaning was clear. Frustration, confusion, desperation. The aliens were not confident. They were not in control. They were afraid. For years, the survivors had watched the aliens with hopeless dread. But this was different. This was the first time the aliens seemed to be losing their grip. The first time they didn't behave like unstoppable conquerors. A woman named Sarah entered the room with a steaming cup of weak, bunker tea. She stared at the screen. "Why would aliens fight over human technology? We barely finished most of our projects before the invasion." Yalen nodded slowly. "True, but we were working on things. Big things." The government had black programs, hidden labs, prototype weapons and power cores. Most of them were never tested. Mara turned toward him. "Do you think this is about one of those?" Yalen shrugged, but his eyes were dark. "I think humans started something we never finished. And now the aliens found the leftovers." Sarah set her cup on a table and leaned closer. "But which project? Which device? What exactly are they fighting over?" Before anyone could answer, an alert beeped. Tomer frowned and switched to a different camera feed. The image showed a group of Vornak drones scanning a collapsed section of a government research lab. Broken walls, scorched metal, and old equipment were scattered across the ground. The drone circled a half-buried metal pod. Its hatch was twisted open. Inside, only a few wires and burned components remained. Jalen's breath caught. "That's human tech. No doubt. And that's not the first one," Tomer added. "We've seen them pulling out other old machines all week." Mara watched the insects like drones. The way they scanned, the way they analyzed, the way they swarmed over anything with human circuitry. If the Vornak wanted it, it meant knowledge. If the Krith wanted it, it meant power. Either way, humans had created something worth a war, and humans had no idea what it was. A heavy boom trembled through the bunker walls. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Another explosion above. More fighting. Mara steadied herself. Whatever the aliens are looking for, we need to know what it is. We need to know why it's so important. Why? Sierra asked. We can't do anything. We're hiding. Mara turned toward her, voice low but certain. Because if the aliens get their hands on something powerful, and they don't understand how dangerous it is, then it could destroy our whole planet. Even the tunnels we live in. Silence filled the room. For the first time in weeks, the survivors felt something colder than fear. Ignorance. They had survived all this time. But they had survived blind. The aliens know more than we do, Mara said. And that can't continue. On the screen, the aliens dug deeper into the ruins, determined. Relentless. Mara whispered to herself. We need answers. Deep underground, 42 humans stared at the screens, unaware that the answers they feared were already on their way. The bunker felt colder that night. Not because the temperature had dropped, the air system kept the climate steady, but because the people inside sensed something shifting above them. Something they could not see, but something that felt close, too close. Every survivor slept lightly. Every dream ended with the same fear. Discovery. Captain Mara remained awake long after the others went to their bunks. She studied camera feeds, checked old communication logs, and replayed the strange alien recording again and again. She listened for patterns, for clues, for anything that might explain why the Krith and Vornak were suddenly tearing the city apart, but the radio gave her nothing new. Just the same broken transmission, the same desperate alien shouting, the same static. She rubbed her temples. We're missing something, she whispered. Then, a soft beep broke the silence. Tomer rushed into the control room, hair messy, eyes wide. Captain, something just pinged on the long-range scanner. Mara straightened. Another alien signal? Tomer shook his head. No, it's not Vornak. And it's not Krith either. Mara raised an eyebrow. Then, what is it? Tomer swallowed hard before answering. It's human. Mara froze. For a moment, she thought she misheard him. There hadn't been a human transmission on the surface in years, not since the fall. Every human station, every military outpost, every emergency beacon had gone silent long ago. All destroyed. All abandoned. Yet the scanner kept beeping, soft and rhythmic, like the beating of a cautious heart. Show me, Mara ordered. Tomer pulled up the signal on the screen. A small blinking dot pulsed on the map overlay. It was located deep inside the city's ruins north of the bunker, near an old research facility that had collapsed during the first invasion wave. What's the code? Mara asked. Tomer zoomed in, his voice trembling. It's an emergency military signal. The E-17 distress beacon. Old Earth Army. Pre-invasion. Mara stared at the screen. Her heart beat harder, but she kept her expression steady. E-17? That was never used by civilians. I know. Tomer glanced at her cautiously. It means someone or something activated a distress unit made for soldiers. Yalin hurried into the room after hearing the alert. What's going on? Why is the scanner active? Tomer pointed. Human distress code. Yalin's face paled. Impossible. Those units were destroyed. The aliens crushed every base. That's what we thought, Mara said softly. The three of them watched the blinking point on the map. It stayed steady, unwavering. Not a glitch. Not interference. A real signal. Yalin leaned closer. If it's a trap... Mara shook her head. Aliens don't use human codes. They don't waste time copying old Earth frequencies. Then maybe it's a survivor, Tomer whispered. Another bunker. Another group still alive out there. Hope flickered in his eyes, dangerous, sharp, and bright. Yalin saw it too and frowned. Could be an old system turning back on. Old systems don't activate by themselves, Mara replied. The room grew tense as the idea settled over them like falling dust. A silent, heavy possibility. Someone might still be alive on the surface. Someone they never knew about. Someone who had survived alone all this time. Someone calling for help. Mara felt a tug deep in her chest. The instinct of a soldier. The instinct of a leader. The instinct to protect. Whoever it is, she said. They're calling us. Yalan crossed his arms. And what do you plan to do, Captain? We can't run to the surface. The aliens are swarming every block. Tomer looked between them nervously. But we can't ignore a human distress signal either. Mara pressed her lips together, thinking. Her gaze drifted to the live camera feed on the main screen. Krith soldiers were battling Vornak drones only a few streets away from the signal's location. The ground shook with each blast. Buildings crumbled, sending dust clouds rising like angry spirits. The location's dangerous, Yalan said. Deadly. That's why we have to go, Mara answered. Jan blinked. You're serious? If there is a survivor, Mara said, they won't last long up there. Not between those two armies. Fear whispered in the back of her mind, but she pushed it aside. She couldn't let fear guide her. Not now. Not when the last humans depended on her to make the hard choices. Tomer nodded slowly. We could send a small team. Stealth suits. Low power. 2 people, Mara said. No more. Small and invisible. Yalan sighed deeply. You'll need to avoid every alien patrol. And the fighting zones. And the scanners. It's possible, Mara said. If we move fast. Tomer scanned the signal again. It's steady, but the strength is weak. It might stop at any moment. Meaning, they didn't have time. Mara made her choice. Prepared the stealth equipment. We go in 1 hour. Yalan stared at her. Who's going on the mission? Mara answered without hesitation. I am. Tomer's eyes widened. Captain, no. You're the leader. If anything happens, if it's a human survivor, they deserve someone who knows what they're doing, Mara said calmly. And I trust myself more than anyone else for this. She turned to Yalan. You'll help Tomer coordinate from here. Yalan grumbled, but nodded. Fine, but be careful. If the aliens detect you, they won't, Mara said. She hoped she was right. Tomer glanced at the blinking dot again. Do you think it really is a person? Another human? Mara looked at the signal, her expression unreadable. I don't know, she said. But whatever is sending that code, we're going to find it. Above them, the alien war lit up the sky. And in the middle of it all, one small human signal kept calling for help, calling for someone to listen, calling to the last 42 survivors who never thought they'd hear another human voice again. The bunker prepared in tense silence. People moved through the narrow halls with careful steps, whispering to one another as if the aliens above could hear even through layers of concrete and steel. Captain. Mara stood in the small equipment room, pulling on the black, lightweight stealth suit that had been designed long before the invasion. The fabric was old, patched, and faded, but it still worked. It masked body heat, softened footsteps, and blended with shadows. As she tightened the suit's straps. Tomer hurried in with a small pack of tools and an anxious expression. I triple-checked the tracker, he said. It should guide you to the signal source, if the interference isn't too strong. Mara nodded. Good. And the cloak device? Tomer held out a palm-sized metal disc. Use it only if you're spotted. It will drain fast. Then I won't be spotted, Mara replied. Tomer tried to smile, but it broke halfway. He wanted to protest again, to tell her she shouldn't be the one going up there, but the words never left his mouth. He simply helped her attach the communicator to her wrist. Yalan entered next, carrying a small case. His face looked serious, more serious than usual. He grumbled as he approached Mara. "I fixed the shock baton. It's old, but it'll give you a chance to escape if something gets too close," he said, and handed her the device. "Just don't try to fight anything. It's for emergencies." "I know," Mara said. Jalen hesitated before adding, "Make it back alive. We need you." Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "You'll keep things steady here. I trust you." With everything ready, Mara took a deep breath and walked toward the main exit tunnel. The heavy metal door loomed ahead, sealed for years except during rare, dangerous missions. 2 guards pulled levers, releasing the locks one by one. The door groaned open, sending a cold draft through the tunnel. Beyond it lay a narrow, ancient subway shaft filled with dust, broken tracks, and silence. A metal ladder led up to a disguised surface. Mara climbed with slow, controlled movements. Every step echoed faintly in the dark. When she reached the top, she pushed the hatch gently. It lifted with a soft metallic sigh. The world outside greeted her with wind, dust, and the distant rumble of alien warfare. Mara scanned the empty street. No movement, no shadows creeping, no drones humming overhead. She slipped out and sealed the hatch behind her. The surface felt colder than she remembered. The air carried a strange metallic smell, a reminder of alien engines and burned debris. A thin layer of fog settled over the ruined city, moving like ghostly fingers between the collapsed buildings. Mara crouched behind the remains of a rusted car and tapped her wrist tracker. A faint arrow appeared on her small screen, pointing northeast, the direction of the distress signal. She whispered into her communicator, "I'm out." Moving toward the signal, Tomer's voice crackled softly in her ear. "Copy. Be careful, Captain." Mara kept to the shadows as she advanced. Her suit absorbed her body heat, making her almost invisible to alien scanners. She stepped around broken glass, avoiding noise. Every movement was slow and controlled. The once busy city now looked like a giant graveyard. Buildings leaned dangerously, cracked open like broken bones. Old street signs hung sideways. Cars lay crushed beneath fallen debris. The wind whistled through shattered windows with a lonely, eerie sound. But the danger was not the ruins. The danger was what moved through them. Mara spotted the first alien patrol 10 minutes into her journey. 2 Vornak drones hovered near an overturned bus, scanning the metal as if searching for hidden compartments. Their glowing blue eyes swept across the street in cold patterns. Mara froze. She stayed still as a statue, barely breathing. One drone shifted closer, its sensors humming softly. It passed just meters from her, scanning the ground. For a moment, its blue light washed over the rusted car she hid behind. Mara slowly lowered her head. The drone hesitated, then turned away. It moved on. Only when it drifted out of sight did Mara allow herself a slow, quiet breath. "Still alive," she whispered under her breath. She continued forward, stepping lightly between shadows. She passed a collapsed market, an empty schoolyard. A row of apartment buildings burned to hollow shells. With every step, the signal grew stronger. But so did the sounds of battle. A deep roar shook the air as a Krith war machine stomped through a nearby intersection. The massive armored creature moved with heavy steps, carrying an energy cannon on its back. It searched the ruins with angry growls. Mara waited behind a concrete barrier until it moved away. The world above had turned into a maze of danger. Every corner held a threat. Every silence could break at any moment. Finally, after nearly an hour, she reached the outskirts of the old research district. The broken buildings here were even more twisted, more shattered, as if both alien factions had torn the place apart in a frenzy. Mara checked the tracker. The signal was coming from inside, a half-collapsed research lab, one of the government's old science buildings. The same type of place the aliens had been tearing apart all week. Her heart beat faster. She swallowed lightly, adjusting her grip on her shock baton. "Tomer," she whispered. "I'm at the site. The signal is strong." "Copy," his voice answered. "Be careful. We're reading movement near your location." Mara crouched behind a broken wall and peered through a gap. Shadows flickered inside the ruined lab. There were no footsteps, no voices, no alien machines. Only silence. She took one slow breath, then another, and in that silence, the distress signal beeped again. One steady, lonely sound. Mara stepped into the building, ready for anything. Another human, another machine, a trap. A ghost from the past, she didn't know, but she was about to find out. The bunker had never felt so small. Only a single lamp lit the room, throwing a dim yellow glow across the cracked walls. Dust floated in the air. The ground shook again and again as alien weapons fired somewhere far above. But inside the bunker, there was something heavier than sound fear. The humans stood around a metal table. 3 adults, 2 teenagers, and the small hologram of the storage chip device. They had just taken Dot. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Dr. Mara finally broke the silence. "We have a problem," she said softly. Everyone already knew that, but hearing her say, it made it feel worse. Eli swallowed hard. "The Krith and the Vornak. They both want this thing. So what's inside it?" Mara took a slow breath. "Something humans created during the last months before everything fell. Something we never tested. Something we were too scared to test." That made everyone freeze. Mara tapped the table, and the hologram changed. New lines of data appeared, long strings of symbols and numbers. Even the adults could not understand most of it. "It's a design for a weapon," Mara continued. "But not the kind that explodes. It's a weapon that thinks." Jace's eyes widened. "Like an AI?" "Yes," Mara said. "But designed to be smarter than any alien system. Smarter than us. A mind that can grow. We called it the Sentinel." The room went completely quiet. Far away, another blast shook the bunker. Dust rained from the ceiling. Eli stared at the glowing symbols. "If this thing is so powerful, why didn't humans use it when the aliens first invaded?" Mara closed her eyes for a moment, as if remembering something painful. "We were afraid," she whispered. "The Sentinel could make choices by itself. It could rewrite its own rules. And we did not know if it would protect us or destroy us." The others exchanged nervous looks. "So we locked the design inside a bunker with heavy security," Mara said. "We thought no alien would ever find it." She laughed bitterly. "But now 2 alien races are tearing the world apart for it." Jace crossed his arms, thinking. "If the Krith or the Vornak get this, they'll build the Sentinel and use it against everyone." "Exactly," Mara said. Another explosion hit much closer this time. The ground jumped under their feet. A wall cracked loudly. Eli steadied himself. "So what do we do now?" "We can't keep it. We can't let the aliens take it." Mara hesitated, then touched the hologram again. A new image appeared. A map. A huge red dot blinked in the middle of ruined mountains. "This," she said, "is the place where the Sentinel was supposed to be activated if humanity had no other choice. A hidden vault deep inside the earth. The aliens don't know about it." Eli stepped closer. "Are you saying we activate it?" Mara didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "If the Sentinel wakes, it might save the remaining humans. Or might end everything. But right now, the aliens are only minutes away from finding us." That truth hit the room hard. The Vornak elite soldiers and Krith hunters were already searching the ruins above. Footsteps or claws or mechanical limbs could reach the bunker at any moment. Jace clenched his fists. "If we sit here, we die. If we run with the chip, they'll track us. But if we activate the Sentinel, it could stop them, Mara finished. Or destroy them. Or even destroy us. Silence again. Then the youngest teenager, a girl named Erin, spoke from the corner. Her voice shook, but her eyes were firm. Humans survived by hiding, she said. But hiding won't work anymore. Everyone looked at her. We have to choose, she whispered. Either the aliens win, or we take a chance. Her words seemed to settle something in the air. Mara gave a slow nod. The vault is a 3-hour walk through tunnels under the ruins. Dangerous, but possible. Eli's pulse quickened. He had never left the bunker tunnels before. The idea of walking under burning cities while aliens hunted above made his stomach twist. But he didn't argue. We move now, Mara said. Grab essentials. No noise, no lights, no hesitation. As the group hurried to collect their things, the bunker shook again. This time, the lights flickered. Something huge had landed above them. Something heavy. Something searching. Eli grabbed a backpack and looked to the ceiling. He imagined Krith claws ripping through concrete, or Vornik drones drilling down with glowing blades. They were coming, and the humans had seconds left. When the group reached the bunker door, Mara placed her hand on the scanner. Everyone ready? She whispered. No one answered. They simply nodded. The metal door slid open with a soft hiss. Cold air filled the room. Darkness stretched ahead of them, the tunnel that would take them to the hidden vault, to the Sentinel, to hope, or disaster. Behind them, something heavy slammed onto the bunker roof. A screeching sound followed. The aliens had found the place. Go, Mara ordered. The humans ran into the darkness as the doors shut behind them. They did not look back, because now, the future of every human left alive depended on one impossible plan: awakening, a weapon that should never have existed. The tunnel seemed endless. Cold air brushed against the group as they moved in a single line, every step echoing softly against the stone walls. Eli kept looking back, even though he could barely see anything behind them. The bunker door was far behind now, far enough that he should have felt safer, but he didn't. Not when every sound could be alien footsteps. Not when the ground trembled from battles above. Not when he knew they were carrying something the universe wanted. Dr. Mara led the group with a small scanner in her hand. Its blue light flickered faintly, guiding them deeper underground. She walked quickly, almost urgently, but with care. Every sound mattered. Every breath had to be silent. Jace followed just behind her, holding a long metal pipe like a weapon, even though he knew it would be useless against a Krith warrior. Still, it made him feel better. Aaron and her older brother walked in the middle, whispering quietly to each other now and then. Eli walked at the back, watching, listening, trying to be brave. Minutes turned into an hour. The tunnel twisted left, then right, then down steep stairs carved into the earth. They passed old signs from the world before the fall, rusted arrows, broken lights, words covered in dust. Eli brushed a sign with his hand. Only a piece of it was readable: urgency evacua. He wondered if the people who once built this tunnel ever imagined aliens would one day fight over a human device. Finally, they reached a wide chamber where 3 tunnels branched outward in different directions. Mara stopped. Wait, she whispered. She checked the scanner. It blinked twice, then pointed toward the left tunnel. That way, she said. They all turned, ready to follow, when a sudden rumbling noise came from behind them. Everyone froze. Eli spun around, gripping his small flashlight tightly, though it stayed off. The rumbling grew louder, sharp, metallic. Not footsteps. Drilling. JACE. Single quotes. S face went pale. They're in the tunnels. Mara nodded slowly. The Vornik digging drones. We need to move, now. They hurried left, their footsteps faster but still careful. The air smelled dusty. Small stones fell from the ceiling as the drilling grew louder behind them. The tunnel sloped downward, deeper and deeper until the air turned cooler, moist, almost like a cave. The scanner beeped again louder now. "We're close," Mara whispered. "The entrance should be around this bend." They turned the corner and saw it, a giant metal door built into the rock. Thick, ancient, shaped like a half circle with smooth silver plates that reflected the faint blue scanner light. Strange symbols glowed on its surface, symbols Eli had never seen before. The Sentinel Vault, Mara breathed. Still intact. Jay stepped forward. "How do we open it?" Mara didn't answer. Instead, she walked to a small panel on the right side of the door. Dust covered it, but after wiping it clean, a hidden touchscreen glowed softly. Mara inserted the storage chip. The symbols on the door began to pulse slowly, as if waking up from a long sleep. A cold wind blew through the tunnel dot. Then the ground shook, not from the vault, but from behind them. The drilling had stopped. Silence. Eli didn't like that silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was the type of silence predators made right before attacking. Jace looked back into the darkness. "Something's coming?" Aaron stepped beside him. "How close?" Jace tightened his grip on the pipe. "Close enough that we should hurry." Lights on the vault door brightened. The half circle began to split into two arcs, sliding open with a deep mechanical hum. A heavy mist flowed out. The air inside was colder, cleaner, almost untouched by the ruined world above. Mara stepped in first. The chamber beyond the door was massive, like an underground cathedral. Tall pillars of metal rose up into the darkness. Blue lights glowed along the walls, forming patterns that pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of something sleeping. At the center was a giant structure shaped like an upright capsule, smooth, silver, quiet. The Sentinel core. Eli felt his chest tighten. This was no simple machine. Something inside it felt alive. Not in a human way, but in a way that made the hair on his arms stand. Jace whispered, "This is it?" "Yes," Mara said softly. "This is the mind humans built but feared." The drilling sound returned, but much louder now. A piercing screech, followed by a loud metallic pop. Then footsteps. Heavy ones. Vornak had broken into the tunnel. Mara rushed to the core. "Jace! Eli, help me activate the console." Eli joined her at the base of the strange capsule. A panel slid out automatically, as if sensing their presence. Lines of code scrolled across it. Aaron shouted from the doorway, "They're almost here." Jace slammed the door controls, but the vault door was too slow. The arcs were still closing when shadows appeared in the tunnel. Tall shadows, armored shadows. A deep growl echoed through the chamber. Mara's fingers shook as she entered commands. "We only need 30 seconds. Eli helped her read the symbols. Jace and Aaron pulled tools and rocks into a small pile, creating a weak barrier by the entrance. Then a blue light shot across the vault. The Sentinel core HUMMED. The ground vibrated. Not like an explosion, but like something waking up. Slowly. Powerfully. Mara gasped. "It's responding." The footsteps grew louder. A Vornak warrior stepped into the vault, its armor glowing with red lines, its blade-like fingers flexing. The humans backed away. The Vornak raised its weapon, but before it could strike, the entire chamber flashed with blinding white light. The Sentinel spoke. A calm, echoing voice filled the vault. "Authority confirmed. Human presence detected. Initiation begins." The Vornak turned in confusion. Eli stared at the glowing core. The Sentinel was awake. And everything was about to change.